Hey Booktube, it's Peg at the History Shelf. I am back tonight for another tag, as promised. This is the Nonfiction November, the best nonfiction books of 2010 to 2019 tag. I was tagged by Mr. Steve Donahue. So, here we go. Question number one is called Your Passion. What is your favorite nonfiction genre, and which is the one book from it that means the most to you? Obviously, history is my favorite genre for the many reasons I have laid out here before on this channel. I think history has so much to teach us, continues to teach us, and that indeed we are blind and without a compass, without history to show us what has come before. Because I truly believe that the one thing that does not change throughout the course of history and humanity is human nature. And the ancients knew that. I think our founding fathers knew that. Human nature does not change. So that kind of feeds into the things that I study, reasons why I'm interested in, I do study communism, Russian Revolution, things like this. Just people that try to regenerate these ideas that have long proven to be just diabolically misguided and fatal. Yeah, I think history has a lot to teach us if we just remember that human nature never changes. As much as humans want to change it, they never can. So that's just one of my little soapbox things there about history. There's no way I can pick just one book. That's just I can't. But and I know that some people will probably this comes in later into the questions 9 and 10, but I guess the one book that I guess I could point to the Gospels, but I know a lot of people who don't tend to have a Christian background or faith would laugh at that and say, oh, well, that's fiction. So we'll have to agree to disagree on that, but I would say the Gospels mean the most to me. Question number 2. Your education, self-improvement, or autodidacticism? The book that helped you to learn a new skill or improve an existing one. That would be my trusty Copywriter's Handbook. This is by Amy Einson. This is a guide for book publishing and corporate communications. But really, if you're a copywriter or a copy editor, and I am a copywriter, but I'm also a certified copy editor. It's my passion. I love words. I love writing. You got to have the Copy Editor's Handbook. I have a 3rd edition. It's probably in its 4th, but it's outstanding. It's got like test proofs in here, and yeah, it's great. Handy dandy guide to everything you need to about punctuation, spelling, and well, not spelling, but grammar, construction, editorial style. Copywriter's Handbook. Every self-respecting copy editor needs one. If you hear squeaking, that's Gidget. She's playing behind me. Gidget! Okay. You gotta love those little moments. Not planned. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep pushing forward. Question number 3. Out of your comfort zone nonfiction book of the decade. Which is that one genre of nonfiction book that you don't usually read, but somehow you went out of your reading comfort zone and found it giving you a lot of value? Well, I thought about this for a little bit, but not too long, because I really haven't read anything that's, well, maybe when I was taking a math class, I had a math textbook. That pushes me out of my comfort zone. I'm not very good at it, but I managed to get through it okay. I passed the class. I got an A, so obviously something worked there. But it was good. It was good to force my brain to think, use another part of my brain to think, and to formulate, answers to questions. So that was a really not a great answer. My dog just distracted me. I'm going to blame it on Gidget. I'm blaming it on Gidget, and that's it. Okay, so yeah, I would say just like my math. Math pushes me out of my comfort zone. Okay, number 4. This is fun. What is the quirkiest or the most unconventional nonfiction book of the 2010s? A book that you found so weird yet wonderful. A book that you feel is a small miracle for its mere existence. Well, in this one, I'm kind of excited to say is a graphic novel. Um, and I have it. I don't know where I placed it. Otherwise, I would hold it up here for you guys. But it's Fun Home by Alison Bechtel. She's an amazing artist, and she had a follow-up book, a graphic novel. Fun Home focuses on her story growing up, and it all focuses around her dad. And the somewhat shady secret, not a secret, but how he died. Um, and just she grew up feeling like she was a boy, and then she was moving into realizing she was gay, and her relationship with her mother. But mostly this book is about her father, and it's called Fun Home because her and her brother grew up in a funeral home, and for a nickname they called it "We Live in the Fun Home." So wow, that it was a really touching book, and the way that she not only illustrated the book, but you have to be very precise. You have a limited amount of space to draw out the story. So the words were like poetry. How she tied all the story together from being a young girl to growing up, and having to live with the fact that her father died under some somewhat questionable circumstances, and her relationship with her mom. It was really touching, and I really, really enjoyed it. So that's Fun Home by Alison Bechtel, Bechdel. And then she had a follow-up graphic novel 2 years later about her mother. It was all about her mother. But I really prefer the first book the most. So, okay, question 5. Which nonfiction book from the 2010s you wish you had written and why? Okay, so guys, another TBR stuff for you guys that are kind of following along with my Civil War recommendations. This book, Reading the Man, A Portrait of Robert E. Lee Through His Private Letters by Elizabeth Brown Pryor. Elizabeth Brown Pryor, first of all, let me just say, she passed away tragically, I think, very young, I think. She was probably 65 or 66. She died in a car accident. She was rear-ended from behind so violently that she died. That was in 2015. I mean, I knew her from this work, and I just couldn't wait for more books to come out by her. And she actually had written a book called Six Encounters with Lincoln. That was the last book that she wrote before she died. And before this one, she had written a book about Clara Barton. But so that was a wonderful writer and historian, just taken from our midst so suddenly, and it was just really sad. And I was really sad to hear it. This is a very big book. The reason why I chose this one, saying that I wish I had written it, is because this book really reveals the man. And like the title says, you're reading the man. So you're not having another historian tell you, about Robert E. Lee. You're reading his letters, his dispatches, his diary entry, everything that you can find. And of course, she brings it together into a wonderful narrative. But you understand Robert E. Lee, the real man, more than anything else. And this was the first book that really, along with The Marble Man, which was written ages ago by Thomas Connolly, which is a classic. Everyone should read that. But Reading the Man allows this guy right here to speak for himself. And it's not a flattering portrait. But again, he was a flawed person, as we all are. But he wasn't this marble man, this saint, this amazing, brilliant general, unparalleled. I mean, he was a deeply flawed person with contradictions that he couldn't even reconcile. So I wish I had written this because, just even in my small paper that I wrote in school, I was trying to disprove some of the myths around it, but this book really does it. So if any of you guys are down for like a woo, minus the footnotes, about 470-page book, I highly recommend this book. And what a wonderful addition to history. by Elizabeth Brown Pryor. I wish she was still. I wish you were still with us. Okay, let me put this down here. I'm running out of space. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this one, I wanted to throw a little, controversy. Not maybe not controversy, but just to get people's opinions on things. And I do think this fits for question 6, which is that one nonfiction book that defines, encapsulates, and epitomizes this decade for you. Well, from a political standpoint and from current events and what has happened in this decade, what have people talked about most? I thought this was a very thought-provoking work. And you don't have to agree with it all the way through. And in fact, I often tell people, read things you don't agree with, along with reading things you do agree with, because you need to be balanced. This is The Strange Death of Europe by Douglas Murray, Immigration, Identity, and Islam. So Douglas Murray, I don't know if many of you are familiar with him, but he's English. He's a British man. He's gay. And an atheist. So that's an interesting set of identifiers. It's he's not some rabid far right wing dude proselytizing. He's writing this from a very kind of an outsider looking in type of thing. But he looks at just how immigration has changed Europe, or how it is changing, and how demographics, the birth rates are going down, and in certain sectors, how Islam is moving into places that were traditionally Christian, but Christianity has basically just died out because most of Europe is very, very secular. Again, I know this might generate some comments, and that's great. I'm all for it. Just in the spirit of, did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you find his arguments that didn't hold water? Were they specious? I mean, what do you think? But I think it defines the decade, because this is all people have been talking about from what I've seen. And anyway, and Douglas Murray actually has a brand new book out called The Madness of Crowds, and I would like to read it and review it and share that with you guys and see if it's worth our time to explore. But again, I enjoy current events. I enjoy books that talk about that. So yeah, I thought I'd put in something a little spicy in this book tag, so we could have a dialogue. Okay. Woo. Question 7. Which is your favorite celebrity memoir or autobiography of the 2010s, and why? And if you want to take a culturally elitist position and say, I don't like celebrities, or I don't read books by celebrities, and do explain why. So so this is Steve Donahue's, he's calling it a culturally elitist position. I don't think it is, just to say I don't read them. For the simple reason that they don't interest me. Yeah, I don't read celebrity tell-alls, autobiographies, memoirs. I really don't care. I mean, there's actors and actresses I really like, but for some reason I just don't find that it just doesn't attract me. I don't why. I don't think I'm being elitist by saying that. I just I'll watch your movies and then we'll move on. Question 8. Which is your favorite biography of the 2010s? Oh, right. Oh, favorite biography. Oh, crap. Well, darn it. I was gonna say, I think I swapped them out. Well, I guess it's a kind of a biography, but this one right here, Team of Rivals, obviously Doris Kearns Goodwin, the political genius of Abraham Lincoln. It's like a joint bio of all these guys in his cabinet. This is just, you can't beat this. I'm sure most of you have read this book. What can I say about this? I love all the different portraits in here of all of his Abraham Lincoln's cabinet members, and how their relationships evolved over time. And let's be honest, anyone who can make Salmon P. Chase interesting, you got my vote. And it did. It made me want to read more about Salmon P. Chase. I mean, and that guy was duller than dull. Kind of a stick in the mud. But, yeah, she just paints these portraits. I mean, we've got Edwin Stanton. This, yeah, Salmon P. Chase. William Seward. Gideon Wells. One of these guys is Blair, I think over here. Oh gosh, these two guys, I'm drawing a blank right now. But anyway, Team of Rivals was fantastic. You know what? I hope it was published in 2010. It might have been earlier. Oopsie! 2005. Shoot. Okay. Well, on that note, let me just turn around and pick out another one. Oh, I read a book on Eisenhower that was fantastic. Don't know if it was made in or written in the 2010s, but Eisenhower by Jean Edward Smith. Hang on a second. Hi. Okay. Yay! Okay, so this one was written in 2012. Fabulous. Eisenhower in War and Peace by Jean Edward Smith, who's written a ton of different presidential biographies and other biographies, and I believe he recently passed away. Jean Edward Smith. This was fabulous. This just gave me a whole new appreciation for Ike. I think after I read this book, I was just like, I like Ike. Let's bring back Ike. He was such a moderate dude. He was just so common sense and nonpartisan. I mean, he just did things that made the most sense for the country. You know, it's like, oh my God, could we get back to that? You know? And just a genius in the war. He was so great at handling different personalities. A fabulous administrator and delegator, and he knew how to pick the right people for the right places for the right time. So I mean, I can't recommend this one enough. It's a very big book, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. So yeah, sorry. Well, so is this one. It was off by about 5 years, but still a classic. But Jean Edward Smith in War and Peace. I'm sorry, Eisenhower in War and Peace by Jean Edward Smith. Okay. Number 9. Which nonfiction book changed your life in a minor or major way? There you go. Why and how? So I'm going to go back to. I'm going to say the Bible, and I know some people might laugh or scoff and say it's fiction, but to me it's not. It's nonfiction, and it's changed my life dramatically, and it has for many years. So I love it, and that's why I constantly study. I study it. I just don't, I've read it twice, but I'll keep reading it and rereading it and just learning and discovering more. And yeah, so that's my question there. And then number 10, kind of the same answer. This relates to gratitude. Which nonfiction book? Oh, this is nonfiction book from the 2010s made you feel grateful for what you have already. Oh my goodness. So trying to date these books, and I have such a large backlist of books from long ago. I'm just going to say most of my history books make me feel grateful for what I have already. Even though it's, books written in 2010, earlier, currently, what will be written, it all makes me feel grateful. Yeah, I feel grateful that I have a warm home right now, a roof over my head, clothing, I have a job, I have income, I have food, I have transportation, the blessings just go on, and I feel grateful for all of them. And yeah, I think just what I read just shows me that, people in different times and places and currently have it so much harder. And I often wonder just, wow, just by just the luck of the draw, just, I don't know, I'm grateful to be a woman who lives in a free country in the West, because I read about the treatment of women in other places, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying and heartbreaking, and so trust me, I feel blessed and grateful to be where I am and the time that I've been born into. Although times right now are really crazy, and I really do. I pray for peace, and I pray for just 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 for things to right themselves. So I guess that's the answer to that question, and those are all the questions for this tag. So I have notched this tag off the list. So there you go, Steve. Thanks for tagging me. This was rather fun and thought-provoking. I hope some of the books I showed are of interest to you guys if you're looking to add to your TBR. Anyway, wow, I'm at 21 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and call this one quits. And I'll be back. I just got more stuff in the mail today. Woo. Got so much to read, and I'm enjoying it though. I like knowing I've got a lot of things in the pipeline, as it were. So, you guys have a great night. I will upload this, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, BookTube.